What's up, guys? Misha here from Beyond the Huddle, and welcome to this week's Ethereum forecast. As always, guys, we will get started with the SMI, our sentiment indicator, and then we'll go into the COT report to see how the asset managers are positioned, and then finally we'll get into the price action segment. So before we get started, though, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate that. And if you're interested, we have the community section of our Discord, which is completely free. If you guys are interested in joining that, there's going to be a link down below in the description where you guys can go ahead, come in and talk to us, ask questions, talk about the COT, talk about the price action, whatever it is that you guys want to talk about. So with that said, guys, let's get this video started. So first off, SMI, what is it looking like? Well, for the past almost the past week or so, as price was rallying here in the market, we saw that the SMI was showing us distribution. So I know Rafi mentioned that yesterday in his video, but the last time we saw signs of accumulation, that was all the way down here back in March 15, and you guys can see from there we had a massive rally. But notice throughout the rally we're seeing distribution because the SMI is red. When it's green, it's accumulation. When it's blue, it's very strong accumulation, and when it's white, it's kind of neutral. So we've seen distribution throughout this entire up move, which is why what we've been saying is we don't want to be making buying decisions as we're seeing distribution. What we want to do is we want to wait for price to correct, and as price corrects, then we'll get the SMI will start to give us accumulation or strong accumulation, and that's when we'd want to be buyers again. Okay, so right now we're still seeing distribution on the SMI, and then I'll show you guys once we get to the price action how that translates in price. And then we'll see how we can actually use the SMI to get ourselves back in sync with this potential uptrend that is setting up right now. So now that we got the SMI done, let's go ahead and take a look at the commitment of traders report. All right, guys, we're now looking at the COT report for Ethereum, and this is the report as of March 22nd of 2022. And we're going to be looking at the asset managers positioning, and we can see that the long stayed the same, so there was no change in long. They still at 0. However, we saw a massive decline in their shorts where they closed 63 contracts, and now they only have 106 contracts left in shorts. Now, that does not change the fact that they're still 100% short, but let's go ahead and take a look at the trading view chart. So let's move this to the side, and let's look at our COT indicator here. And the interesting thing here is that although they're still 100% short, and they've been 100% short for quite a while now, we can see that the shorts have now gone below the average. Now, we had seen something similar happen around here. That was back in February, and we saw that as soon as it went back below the average, it was just kind of a retest. If you think of this as a price action chart here, that would just be a retest of the moving average here, and then price continued to the upside. But this time we had what seems to be a break, right? So we've closed way below the average here. So if we're going to see continuation to the upside, we're going to need to see this continue to decline. But here's another thing that we want to pay attention to here is if we change this to the net position, we can see that for the first time in a very, very long time, since about October of last year, the net position has now gone above the average. Now, by itself, it doesn't mean much because they're still 100% net short. But what this is telling us is that if we do get the longs to start to increase, so when we look at tomorrow's report, if we start to see longs increasing, that will be a good sign that we're likely to see continuation to the upside. Now, based on what we saw on the SMI, we're expecting a retracement here. And the way we would confirm that it would just be a retracement is if we start to see these longs start to pick up. Now, if these longs don't start to pick up, then this might have potentially been a high, right? So that's what we're going to be paying attention to. So we do have shorts below average. We have the net position that has gone above the average. So we have 2 check marks here. The only thing that's left is for the longs to start to pick up. And that's what we're going to be looking for in tomorrow's report. So again, if you guys want to know what the data comes out as tomorrow, make sure you join our Discord server. I post the data every single Friday right after 3:30 p.m. Eastern once it becomes available, and we can talk about it, discuss whatever it is you guys want to talk about. So with that said, now let's go ahead and take a look at the actual price action segment. All right, guys, welcome to the price action segment, and we are now looking at Ethereum BTC on a weekly time frame. We can see that this week's been an up week. And if we start to go down to the lower time frame, first off the daily time frame, you guys will see that. Let's bring this back to previous right here. So you guys can see that based on last week's video, we were talking about this being a very, very strong bullish signal. The fact that we used the previous year's value area high as support and we started to rally. And we were talking about prices being around the previous month's point of control here, and also the previous quarter's point of control. And our upside targets were the previous quarter's value area high and the previous month's value area high. Now, the reason why we were expecting a continuation to the upside was because at the time, the daily, the 3-day, and the weekly models were all suggesting higher prices. Okay, so we were expecting a move up to this area. Now we hit it twice, and now we're starting to see rejection. Now, as we're seeing rejection here, we have to remember that the month is almost over. Today is the 31st. So in a couple hours, a new monthly candle will open. Guess what that means? That means we're going to be using the current month, which is March. That's going to be our previous month's value area once the new month open. So look at this. We have prices about to close above the value area high. That's a bullish sign. Now, once we drop down into the lower time frames, all right, so we're going to go into our weekly. We can see we're still above the value area high. We're looking at our 3-day profile. We're still above the value area high. And now we start to look at our daily profile, and we can see that we are within the previous day's value. Okay, we're within the previous day's value, and we're dropping. So if we start to bear trend, and that could mean that today closes below yesterday's value area, or we could also have today closing below its own value area, which on the current day we're already bear trending. So that's already telling us that there's a high likelihood that we're going to see a retracement. So now where could that retracement potentially take us? Well, that retracement could potentially take us to what? To this right here. When we go back to the monthly, we could retrace down into what's about to be previous month's value area high. Okay. And this is how using the lower time frame to guide you on your way to the higher time frame level. This is how you do it, guys. You look at your higher time frame, what's the direction, and then you go into your lower time frame to kind of gauge when is it the right time to be entering. So based on what we're seeing on the lower time frame right now, this is retracement time. And then once we hit the higher time frame level, then we'll go back into our lower time frames and we'll look for the opposite model, which is going to be, instead of a bear trending model, we're going to be looking for a bull trending model. And that's how we're going to be able to take advantage of these volume profiles, guys. So that's what I have for Ethereum BTC. So understanding that once we hit that previous, what's about to be previous month's value area high, and we use it as support, and then assuming that the lower time frames are actually bullish, right? Then we would expect prices to rally up into this weekly supply here, which we had actually barely missed on this move right there. However, if we don't get the lower time frames to flip bullish, then at that point, we're looking at prices coming down into right here, the previous, what's about to be previous month's point of control, and also previous month's value area low. Okay, so that's what we're seeing on ETHBTC. Now let's move on and take a look at ETHUSD. All right, guys, we're now looking at ETHUSD. So what are we seeing here? Well, look at this pin bar candle here. We got a massive rejection at these highs here. Price is starting to drop, and this was something that we were expecting based on what the SMI was telling us. The only thing we needed was for the daily model to start bear trending. And if you saw yesterday's Bitcoin forecast, you would have seen Ralphie explain exactly that on the Bitcoin chart. So we're starting to see a retrace from this massive move to the upside. So we had about what? We had about, in about 2.5 weeks, we saw a 39% move higher on Ethereum. And again, remember, throughout most of this rally, we were seeing distribution on the SMI, which told us to expect some type of a retracement / reversal once the model started to bear trend. So going back down to the daily time frame, you guys can see we have a massive bearish candle. Today we're down 3.4% on the day. And one of our targets for Ethereum was this 3-day supply here, which lined up with the quarterly and the yearly open. Price did not reach that level here. And going down into our 4-hour time frame, you guys can see we're still above the previous month's value area high. But as we just mentioned, this is about to change. So looking at the current month, which is about to be previous month, we are still above the value area high, which is good. And same thing for the quarter, because the quarterly is about to change as well. So we're still above the value area high. So these are two levels that we could be potentially targeting as we're getting these bearish models on the lower time frames, right? So we're looking at 3,069 on the quarterly, and then 2,995 on the monthly. So let's go back to looking at previous candles. Now let's go look at the weekly, guys. This is another level right here, 3,119, 120 basically. That's an area we could be looking at as targets from this drop right here. And if we go down into our 3-day, we can see that we just went within value on the 3-day. And then on the daily, obviously, we're bear trending. And you guys can see this is exactly what Rafi was talking about yesterday. You guys can see the move down. We bear trended, came back, retested the value area low, and then continued to the downside. Now we're even below the weekly open, as you guys just saw. So as this continues, we're going to be targeting these levels that we just mentioned, which is the previous week's value area high, what's about to be previous months and previous quarters value area high. Those are going to be the targets. And then what we're going to want to see is we're going to want to see the SMI start to turn green or blue. So you guys remember, as I showed you guys earlier, the SMI is currently showing distribution. And we're hoping that what we're going to see is with this drop, we're going to see a reset of the SMI where we're going to start to see accumulation and potentially even strong accumulation once we hit those levels that we just mentioned. And then we're going to want to go into our daily or weekly, look for the bull trending model, and then that's going to give us the best odds to get the right entries. So that's what I'm seeing on Ethereum at the moment, guys. We're bear trending on the daily. The 3-day, like I said, the 3-day were within value. But if we look at it, we're going to get a new 3-day today. So let's look at the current profile for the 3-day, and we can see that one's bear trending at the moment. So basically what this is telling us is that we're likely to see continuation to the downside. And once we hit these important levels, like I said, we're going to be checking our SMI and then our lower time frame models to gauge when we could potentially see a next leg higher. And if we're unable to start to bull trend on these levels and the SMI does not switch, then that means that we could see further continuation to the downside. Now, based on what Rafi mentioned yesterday with the Bitcoin commitment of traders report, we're not seeing bearishness on that yet, right? So from a smart money perspective, looking at what they're doing in the futures market, we're not seeing bearishness on Bitcoin. However, on Ethereum, like I mentioned, we need the longs to start to increase. Until the longs increase, there's going to be a very uncomfortable rally, because at any moment in time, if the shorts start to increase again, like we saw multiple times. So if we go back to our weekly here, and we see that after the shorts had gone below average here, they started to increase again. And look at that. We saw another massive move to the downside. So if you want to be bullish Ethereum, you don't want to see that. You want these shorts to stay below average. You want the market to respect one of those support areas that we mentioned, whether it's going to be the previous month, previous week, or previous quarter's value area high. And then you're going to want to see the SMIs reset and go back to accumulation or strong accumulation. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys got some value from this. If you did, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested in joining our Discord server, again, it's free to join. Link is going to be down below in the description. And with that said, I will see you all next week. Peace.